We're going to stay with high school football here and bring in Eric Anderson, assistant coach at Oakcrest High School, talk about their big playoff game against Pemberton today. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning, Sully. How you doing today?
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. Just getting ready.
Getting the boys ready?
Yeah, they're
all right.
pumped and ready to roll.
What's going through your mind now? You know, you're about 5 hours or so from kickoff against Pemberton. This team has come a long way in the last couple of years. You made the playoffs last year, lost the Central Regional first round, and this is kind of a year you guys have been pointing to make an impact in the playoffs. What's the mood of the team right now?
Oh, the mood of the team is great. They're excited. They're ready to go. They've watched a ton of film all week. The game plan is set. Spirits are high, and they're ready to play some football right now.
Tell Coach Chuck Smith I said the Sully game plan is to give it to Terrence Smith about 25 times.
Yeah, hopefully that's the play. You know?
Talk about that kid. I mean, what an amazing career. Over 2,000 yards in his career. He set the school record for total rushing yards, and not only that, just a great young man on and off the field. Has really become a leader in that school. Talk about him a little bit and what he's meant to this program.
He's meant everything to this program. He's been a 4-year starter. Cut his teeth behind Brandon Bell when he was a freshman in the backfield, and he's just been, like you said, he's a tremendous kid. Very respectful, very polite, gets good grades, great leader in the school. He's friends with everybody. Just a tremendous kid and a tremendous athlete, and I could never say enough good things about him.
Well, one thing that really struck me, we did a feature on him in Glory Days magazine a couple weeks ago, and one thing that really struck me about him was how much he liked to see the student section out there behind the football team and everybody getting excited throughout the week for these football games, and that really made an impact on him. How much the student body was supporting this high school football team, and talk about that a little bit. That school and really the fan support you guys have, the Falcon pride over there, and it really does impact these players.
Oh, absolutely. The kids feed off of their energy. They love it. They try to get fan buses to every away game. The more fans, the better. The more noise they make, the more psyched our kids get. And like you said, they just feed off of their energy, and they help them get going during the games, and they pick them up when they're down. So hopefully we get a huge showing today again from the Falcon faithful.
How nervous is head coach Chuck Smith? He usually looks pretty calm and collected, but hey, this is playoff football today.
Yeah, he is pretty calm and collective. Always, he's a steady, smooth character. He's got a solid game plan put in, so he's not worried. He's just anxious and ready to get going and play this game.
What's that night like before the game? When you play on a Saturday, I'm sure you guys were keeping track of all these other scores, and you want to get out there so bad, and it's probably tough to sleep last night, right?
Yeah, a little bit. The anxiety's high, but we didn't do too much scoreboard watching. We told the kids to just focus on our game and not really worry about what anybody else is doing until our game is done and over. Keep the focus on Oakcrest versus Pemberton, and then Saturday we'll, see what happens after that.
Coach, I wanted to ask you real quick. I've watched a lot of Oakcrest this year. Can you talk a little bit about Will Fish? He's wearing number 26 this year. That was Brandon Bell's number. Talk a little bit about the impact he has had on this team as a senior this year.
Will Fish is a 3-year captain of the team. He's just a natural leader. The kids follow him. And he's basically the quarterback of our defense. He knows where everybody needs to be, is supposed to be, and he makes the whole show run on our defense this year, and he's doing a tremendous job. And he's just a natural leader. Made his skills enough out there.
We're talking with Eric Anderson, one of the assistant coaches over there at Oakcrest High School. They're going to be taking on Pemberton today at 1 o'clock in the first round of the playoffs. Coach, talk a little bit about Kendall Elliott. He's a junior quarterback. He's been starting for 3 years. For people who haven't seen him, what an athletic kid. He's about 6'1", 210, 215 pounds. Also plays defense, a really great safety there in the back of your defensive backfield, and has really come a long way. I've kind of seen him grow up over the last couple of years, and he really looks like the kind of guy that is ready for this spotlight and this time of his career.
He is ready for the spotlight. He's a very mature young man, especially for being a junior. Like you said, it's his 3rd year in this offense, and he's progressed tremendously. And like you said, he's 215, 220 actually. And when you have 2 guys in the backfield between him and Terrence, it's a blessing. But Kendall is just as much of a threat to run the ball as Terrence Smith is on the field. So defenses have to prepare for him, not only throwing the ball, but if he gets loose in that secondary, not many people are going to bring him down.
Coach, speaking of Kendall, this is a guy, he broke the New Jersey State touchdown record. This is a guy who, it just seems like every year he's just getting better. What is the thing that you guys have seen that's been from his freshman year to now that has really been the biggest improvement?
I would say his maturity on the field and off the field. He's a very quiet young man, but he's very focused. He's very internally driven. He watches a lot of film. He asks a lot of questions on the practice field, the little things mechanically, and his ability to read defenses is something I've never seen before out of a high school kid that I've coached. So he's progressing well. I can't wait to see what he does today and as well as next year.
Coach Sully here. Are you going to be giving the pregame speech? And if so, how long have you been working on it?
You know what? I don't know yet, but I'm always ready to go, and I always have a little something in my back pocket just in case. But I think Coach Smith's going to handle this one today.
Oh, come on, man! That's high school football, man. The playoff pregame speech. That's good stuff.
I'm sure I'll have a little part to add my 2 cents in, but like I said, Coach Smith's going to handle it. I'm sure he has something great in store for the kids.
You got to jump in there at the end and really get them fired up.
I always try to, Sully.
Good stuff. What do you know about this Pemberton team? I'm sure you guys have done some scouting. We talked to Jim Razzo of Hamilton about just how the scouting is done these days with Huddle and a lot of online stuff. And these kids really get to see up close and personal with the high-definition filming and all that stuff of the plays these other teams run. Kind of a neat thing these days of how the scouting goes.
Yeah, Huddle's great. We have all their games on film, and I've watched all of them numerous times and breaking down films and plays, and they have 3, if not 4 tremendous playmakers, and it starts with their quarterback, their running back, and then their 2 wideouts. They like to run the ball and they like to throw the ball downfield, and we know what's coming. We just got to get out there and play some football, and our kids are coached up. They've watched a lot of film on the Huddle app, so hopefully we're ready to go and see what this offense throws at our defense today.
We're talking with Eric Anderson, assistant coach at Oakcrest High School, to be taking on Pemberton today at 1 o'clock in the first round of the state playoffs. Coach, you get to this time of year, and it's playoff time. How much did your squad learn from making the playoffs last year? You had a couple tough seasons before that, and really I know they were thrilled to make the playoffs last year, and then you lose to Central Regional. How much of that experience carries over into this year? And I'm sure it'll be a little bit easier on some of these guys. They won't be so shell-shocked at the environment today, at opening kickoff.
Right. Well, that's the thing. The playoff experience itself, from being, quote-unquote, in the playoffs, a ton of our players have returned from last year. And, it's mostly like, hey, not only is this your second playoff game, but they don't want that feeling of losing again. So you hope that carries through to today, on the field as well as off the field on the way up on the bus, and you hope they're psyched, and you hope that experience from last year is just festering in their head, and hopefully they're not as nervous and they're ready to go.
I guess in any football game, obviously the team that scores first has the advantage, but especially for you guys, I think it's important to get off to a fast start. You guys have at times this season struggled early in the game. What do you guys got to do to jump up early and kind of get the momentum in this game?
Well, hopefully we can get the opening kick and take it to the house on the opening kickoff. That's always the game plan. We have some exciting kick returners on our last 2 lines back there, but most people don't want to kick to them because we try to make them pay if they do. So that's always the key. And then from there, hope the offense gets rolling and we can march down the field and make good things happen.
All right, Coach, we'll let you get rolling. Make sure you videotape that pregame speech. I want to see that on Twitter video.
I don't think there's any cameras allowed in that room at that time.
Yeah, we might be better off. Might have to edit some of that. So.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Coach. Good luck today. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Sully, I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks so much.
No problem. Good luck, buddy.
Thanks.